The airports are still technically open, but the planes just sitting there, grounded. The beach boardwalks are quiet, the neon lights dimmed, and even with hotels slashing prices, the rooms stay cold and empty. Something deeper is breaking down, and it's not just the economy. It's the heartbeat of entire states. Tourism. Once the cash cow powering jobs, towns, and entire regions, it's now sputtering, and in some places, shutting down. Legendary travel spots are falling silent, not from natural disasters, but from something more unsettling. Neglect, broken policies, and worst of all, disinterest. People just aren't coming anymore. So which states are already slipping, and which ones could be next? Stick with this because these 10 places aren't just losing tourists, they're running out of time. Number 10, California. Golden sunsets, legendary highways, Hollywood dreams. But if you look past the postcard, something's cracking. California, one of the most iconic travel destinations on Earth, is beginning to stumble, and it's not going unnoticed. International tourism is drying up fast, especially from Canada, its second largest source of visitors. Cities that once buzzed with out-of-towners like San Francisco, Anaheim, and parts of LA are now reporting a drop in foot traffic, plummeting hotel revenues, and way too many vacancy signs. And get this, even with a staggering $157 billion in tourism spending last year, 2025 is flashing warning lights. What makes it worse? This pullback comes just as the cost of living in California hits record highs. Beaches, theme parks, and wine country can't carry the weight forever, not without global eyes and wallets. So, here's the question no one wants to ask. Is the California dream finally starting to fade? Number 9, New York. The skyline still stuns, the lights still dazzle, but peer a little closer and the cracks start to show. Once the beating heart of U.S. tourism, New York City is quietly losing its rhythm. In 2025, city officials were banking on 67 million visitors. Now, they've revised that number down to 64 million. That's 3 million fewer people flooding into hotels, theaters, restaurants, and 2 million of those are international tourists. And here's why that matters. International travelers aren't just window shoppers. They stay longer, they spend more, and they fuel everything from Broadway box offices to boutique hotels. For a city where nearly half of all tourism dollars come from abroad, this isn't just a dip, it's a gut punch. So what's driving the downturn? A mix of rising prices, global inflation, a surging US dollar, and concerns about safety and cleanliness. For many would-be travelers, New York just doesn't feel as magical or as welcoming as it used to. Local businesses are already feeling the pinch. Restaurants that once thrived on global foot traffic are seeing empty tables. High-end retail shops in Soho struggling without that overseas cash flow. And when the tourists stop spending, it's not just the storefronts that suffer, it's the workers. Hotel staff, tour guides, shop clerks, thousands now face fewer hours or flat-out layoffs. And there's a ripple effect. Less tourism means less tax revenue, which means fewer resources for infrastructure, public services, and everything that keeps the city moving. For visitors and locals, New York is still iconic, still electric, but the energy? It's flickering. And if these trends hold, we may be looking at the first signs of something bigger, a major urban reset. Number 8, Nevada. The neon still glows, the slots still spin, but take a step onto the Las Vegas Strip, and you'll feel it. The energy's off. Casinos are open, sure, but the crowds? Thinner than they've been in years. Luxury suites go untouched. Buffets that used to overflow with lines out the door now sit half-empty or shuttered entirely. This isn't just a slow week. Something deeper is shifting in Nevada, and it's not just bad luck at the blackjack tables. Las Vegas, the lifeline of Nevada's economy, just experienced one of its steepest tourism slumps in over a decade. Visitor numbers to the Strip are down more than 6%. Gaming revenue is falling. And here's where it gets serious. Nevada is one of the most tourism-reliant states in America. When visitors stop flying in, the entire machine starts to slow down. Restaurants lose diners, shows get canceled, hotel and entertainment staff see hours cut, or jobs lost. Even real estate, which once boomed thanks to investor confidence, is starting to cool. And this isn't just a dip. This could be the start of a permanent shift, a tourism reset no one planned for. So, the big question: what happens to a state built on spectacle when the crowds stop coming? What happens to the workers, the families, the entire industries that place their bets on tourism always bouncing back? Number 7. Arizona. From a distance, Arizona still shines like a desert dream. Endless sunshine, booming cities, and bucket list landscapes that draw visitors all year long. But zoom in, and that picture starts to blur. The Grand Canyon State's once red-hot tourism industry, it's beginning to cool. In 2025, visitor spending dropped nearly 7%, and the impact is spreading fast, from Sedona's luxury spas to the tour vans lining up at the Grand Canyon. But here's the real jaw-dropper. International travel is down over 10%, and Canadian tourism, one of Arizona's biggest streams, is in freefall. Why the slide? Well, the reasons are piling up. Record heat waves are scaring off even the most loyal sun seekers. Wildfire threats and growing water restrictions are making national headlines, and airfare to the southwest, more expensive than ever. But there's a bigger problem lurking under the surface. Arizona's recent economic boom has leaned heavily on hospitality, real estate, and short-term tourism. When the visitors dry up, that entire foundation starts to crack. New construction slows, vacation rentals sit empty. High-end restaurants, resorts, golf courses, many are scaling back, some shuttering. Even major hubs like Scottsdale and Phoenix are seeing hotel bookings flatten. And in towns like Flagstaff or Page, where tourism is the economy, the slowdown feels less like a dip and more like a full stop. And it goes beyond dollars and jobs. Arizona's stunning natural assets, the red rocks, canyons, and trails, are being pushed to their limits. Overuse is forcing tighter restrictions, fewer permits, stricter access rules, and more hoops for visitors to jump through. So now the question becomes, what happens when the very landscapes that define your identity become too fragile to promote? What do you do when the climate shifts from being a draw to being the deterrent? Arizona hasn't hit freefall, but the warning signs are blinking. Dry trails, empty patios, desert towns holding their breath. Number 6. Florida. The palm trees still sway and the theme parks still dazzle. But listen closely, and you'll hear it. Silence. Something shifted in the Sunshine State, and it's not just the breeze. Florida, long a juggernaut of American tourism, is suddenly standing on shaky ground. In 2025, something major happened. Canadian visitors, one of Florida's biggest lifelines, just stopped showing up. And not in small numbers. Flight bookings from Canada plummeted by over 70% for the spring and summer. That's not a dip, that's a collapse. The fallout? A projected $2.1 billion loss in spending and 14,000 tourism jobs hanging by a thread. From the buzz of Miami to the magic of Orlando, even laid-back beach towns like Clearwater and Naples are taking hits. Resorts are slashing prices just to fill empty rooms. Restaurants that used to be packed? Now they're shutting down early or not opening at all. But this isn't just about fewer vacations. It's about a statewide ripple effect. When tourism dries up in Florida, it doesn't just hurt hotels. The shockwave hits housing, transportation, hospitality, even local retail. And here's the real kicker. Florida has no fallback plan. This state's entire identity, its economy, its growth, relies on 3 things: sunshine, spectacle, and tourism dollars. When one of those pillars falters, the whole structure starts to wobble. And domestic travel? It's not enough to plug the hole. International visitors stay longer, spend more, and right now, that cash flow is evaporating. So what caused the drop? Some blame rising prices, others point to tougher border policies, global instability, or even plain old travel fatigue. Whatever the reason, the outcome is crystal clear, and so are the empty hotel lobbies and deserted attractions. Now ask yourself, what happens if this continues into next year? What if another hurricane, economic or literal, hits while the state is already reeling? Florida may still look like a vacation paradise in postcards, but beneath the surface, it's one more canceled flight away from full-blown crisis. Number 5. Missouri. From riverboat nostalgia to smoky barbecue and blues music, Missouri built its identity on experience. But now, those very experiences, the shows, the charm, the weekend getaways, are starting to fade. Something's breaking down in the state's tourism engine. And in 2025, the signs are hard to ignore. Cities like St. Louis, Kansas City, and Branson, once steady tourism anchors, are feeling the strain. Hotel bookings have dropped by as much as 12% in key regions, and visitors' spending is sliding. Branson, the Ozark town famous for its family shows and senior-friendly attractions, is seeing empty seats where full buses used to pull in. Group tours are drying up, theater lights are dimming, and once iconic performers are retiring without replacements. What used to feel reliable and nostalgic now feels fragile and outdated. In St. Louis, the cracks run even deeper. A spike in crime headlines has scared off conventions and major events, many of which are now choosing safer, more lucrative cities. Even the downtown hotels, once packed for conferences and Cardinals games, are slashing rates just to fill beds. In Kansas City, the brand new airport was supposed to bring in waves of tourism and business travel, but so far, the payoff is slower than anyone hoped. Inflation is squeezing family budgets, and that means fewer zoo trips, fewer museum visits, and emptier streets in districts that once buzz with tourists. Here's the real heart of Missouri's problem. It depends heavily on domestic drive-in travel. That's great when gas is cheap and families are feeling spontaneous. But in 2025, fuel prices are up, weekend getaways are down, and small towns like Herman and Hannibal are already feeling the pinch. Shops are closing earlier, sidewalks are quieter, and the seasonal crowds that kept these places afloat, they're not coming. Missouri's not collapsing, but the foundation is shifting. And if this trend keeps growing, the Show Me State may have to find a new story to show. Stick around, because the next state on this list will flip the script on what most people think is a guaranteed tourism magnet. And while you're here, don't forget to subscribe. That's how we keep exposing the stories behind the headlines. Number 4. Hawaii. From 30,000 feet, it still looks like a dream. Turquoise waves, lush green cliffs, golden sands. But once you land, the picture starts to shift. Hawaii, once the undisputed crown jewel of American tourism, is now facing a storm it can't simply surf through. In 2025, the numbers tell a different story. International arrivals are way down, especially from Japan and Canada, two markets that once poured billions into the islands. But here's what's even more concerning. It's not just about fewer tourists, it's that those who are coming are spending less. Average visitor spending has dropped across almost every major island. Even hotspots like Oahu and Maui, normally packed year-round, are reporting hotel occupancy rates at levels not seen since the darkest days of the pandemic. So what's driving this decline? It's a perfect storm. Airfare prices have skyrocketed. New laws have cracked down on vacation rentals. The devastating Maui wildfires not only destroyed parts of the island, they also shook traveler confidence. And layered on top of it all is a growing pushback from locals, residents fed up with over-tourism, demanding tighter controls, fewer tourists, and more respect for the land. That's created a paradox. Demand is falling, but so is capacity. Fewer rooms, fewer tours, fewer flights, and that's pushing Hawaii's economy to the edge. Restaurants are cutting shifts. Tour guides, surf instructors, and shop owners are watching business dry up. In some remote communities, families are already packing up and leaving. And here's the hard truth. Hawaii has no safety net. Tourism makes up over 20% of its economy. When that lifeline starts to fray, there's no plan B. But this isn't just an economic story. It's cultural. It's environmental. Islanders are asking, how much more strain can we take? What happens when paradise becomes too fragile to share? That answer may already be unfolding. One quiet beach, one closed storefront, one vanished tour group at a time. Stick around, because the next state on this list, it might shock you.
Number 3, Louisiana. The music still dances down Bourbon Street. The scent of gumbo still lingers in the air. But beneath the jazz, the soul food, and the second lines, something's breaking. Louisiana, a cultural powerhouse, a place unlike anywhere else in America, is now facing a quiet, dangerous stall. In 2025, this isn't just a slowdown in tourism, it's a signal flare. New Orleans, the heart and heartbeat of the state, has seen international travel drop by more than 20%. And with that, the dollars that once kept its streets, festivals, and small businesses alive are disappearing. Hotels are struggling with empty rooms. Mardi Gras and Jazz Fest, fewer out-of-state guests. And in the French Quarter, it's not easier to walk around because things improved. It's quieter because fewer people are showing up. Here's the thing. In Louisiana, tourism isn't just a luxury, it's a lifeline. Over 200,000 jobs depend on it. And when those jobs vanish, the impact isn't just on the service industry, it's on entire families, neighborhoods, and towns that rely on that cash flow to survive.
And this isn't a random dip. It's part of a wider pattern. Rising crime rates in tourist hotspots have scared off many visitors. Add in scorching heat waves, soaring prices, and the relentless threat of hurricanes, and suddenly travelers are second-guessing. Some say the experience feels less safe. Others say it's just not worth the cost anymore. Worse still, as international travel rebounds unevenly, Louisiana is losing ground to other states. Ones offering cleaner, safer, more consistent experiences. Cities like Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and Shreveport are all seeing the effects. Local festivals, walking tours, historical sites, bookings are down. Even rural parishes where seasonal tourism once brought in critical income are being left out in the cold. This isn't just a tourism dip, it's a warning shot, a reminder that culture alone isn't enough to keep an economy strong, not without safety, strategy, and support. Louisiana has always been a place of rhythm and resilience, but if this trend continues, it may become a sobering lesson in what happens when even the richest culture can't shield you from an economic reckoning.
Number 2, Texas, the Lone Star State, where everything's supposed to be bigger, bolder, and booming, is now facing an uncomfortable truth. Tourism is shrinking, and shrinking fast. Sure, you might still picture packed rodeos, buzzing food trucks, legendary music festivals, and BBQ joints with lines around the block. But step into 2025, and the reality starts to look very different. Austin, once the unstoppable capital of cool, is seeing its cultural magnetism lose pull. Hotel occupancy downtown, down more than 11% this spring alone. Local music venues, once shoulder to shoulder, now echo with thinner crowds. Even long-standing businesses say foot traffic is drying up, week by week. Head to San Antonio, and the famed Riverwalk tells the same story. Fewer tour buses, fewer conventions, bookings are underwhelming, and the city's once reliable visitor base is starting to fade. One major reason? Record-breaking summer heat. It's no longer charmingly warm. It's dangerously hot, and that's pushing travelers away from what used to be peak season. Then there's Houston, a hub once buzzing with international trade and business travel. But now, fewer flights, emptier hotels, shrinking expos. After being battered by hurricanes, blackouts, and power grid failures, more and more travelers are asking, is Texas worth the risk? Even smaller towns like Fredericksburg and Waco, known for their charm, wineries, and weekend escapes, are quietly sounding alarms. B&Bs are going unbooked. Rising prices, overcrowded attractions, and erratic weather have left repeat visitors hesitant to come back. What used to be authentic now sometimes feels exhausting. And here's the real kicker. While the experience cracks, Texas is still spending big on promotion. Billboards, ads, campaigns. But if the foundation is crumbling, does marketing really matter? Tourism helped build the modern image of Texas, diverse, bold, unstoppable. But if this downward trend keeps gaining speed, it might not just dent that image, it could unravel it completely. And if you think this was shocking, wait until you see who's at number 1. Some states aren't just slowing down, they're standing right on the edge of collapse. Like, share, and hit that subscribe button so we can keep pulling back the curtain on what's really happening across America. Number 1. Illinois. The skyscrapers still pierce the sky. The Chicago River still winds through downtown like a ribbon of steel and glass. But behind that shimmering skyline, across the neighborhoods and far beyond the city limits, a troubling quiet is setting in. In 2025, Illinois is facing a tourism crisis, and most people aren't even talking about it. Let's start with Chicago, once the pride of Midwest travel and a global city in every sense. This year, international tourism has dropped by over 14%. Business travel is down. Convention bookings are weak. Tourism spending, plunging. This isn't just a slow season, it's a downward spiral. Why? Perception. Crime headlines, fair or not, are scaring off international visitors. Many are skipping Chicago entirely, opting instead for cities with a cleaner, safer image. Domestic travelers, especially families, are quietly crossing Illinois off their vacation list. And if you zoom out, it only gets worse. In Springfield, Peoria, Rockford, and across the state, tourism never fully recovered after the pandemic. Iconic attractions, historic landmarks, music festivals, even Route 66, once a symbol of American road trip magic, are losing steam. Some stretches of the highway feel abandoned. Roadside diners have closed, souvenir shops sit dark. And here's the twist. Illinois is one of the most heavily taxed states in the country. For travelers, that means higher hotel bills, pricier meals, and inflated costs across the board. Budget-conscious tourists? They're going elsewhere. Neighboring states offering more fun for less money. Behind the scenes, the economic ripple is spreading. Thousands of hospitality and tourism-related jobs have vanished in the last 12 months alone. And this isn't just hitting big hotels, it's squeezing local diners, small-town attractions, gift shops, gas stations. What's tragic is Illinois still has everything it needs to thrive. World-class architecture, legendary food, deep history, electric music scenes. But the crowds are thinning, and the bookings keep dropping. This isn't just a dip, it's a red flag. If Illinois can't stop this slide soon, it may face something far worse than empty hotel rooms, a structural breakdown in the very sectors that help hold the state's economy together.